Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little process video for you today. I'm actually going to be finishing up the journal that I created using my gathered kit from A House of Books. I just wanted to add some more pockets and different things in here just as kind of a part two to this journal. I have pulled out a bunch of things from my stash for this part though. I did pull out some coffee dyed papers and some different things. This is one of the pieces that did come in the gathered kit. It's like an old canceled check or something, and I want to create a little pocket. So I just folded it in half, and I'm finding one of my kind of longer pages, and I'm going to wrap this around and make a pocket so that there's a pocket on both sides. That way I don't have to lose any of this beautiful vintage paper. So I'm just going around the three sides, and I'll have a little pocket on the top of it, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the back side here, just going around the three edges, and then that will keep everything down, and we'll fill that pocket up with some ephemera as well. I just really loved the font and everything on here, and so I didn't want to, tear it up or anything, so just created that wraparound pocket. And then I have this little tag. This was actually a pocket I think I created in the last video with some handmade paper, and I wanted to put this tag in there. So I just have one of the tags from my stash using some music paper that was in the kit. This was some vintage paper, and I just glued it down across the bottom, and then I'm just tearing around the edge just to get kind of a rough edge around the bottom of the tag just for some more interest. And then I'm going to distress that. I'm using archival ink and ground espresso for all of the distressing that I do on here. And then I had a little tassel in my kit, and it sort of fell apart. So I am actually just kind of pulling all of the pieces and using that for the top of the tag. It was like a tassel that was probably for some upholstery or something. And so I'm just using all the bits and pieces because it just totally fell apart when I was pulling it out of the packaging. So I do want to add just a little bit of more interest here. So I have these postage stamps in my stash. These are, I believe, from Your Creative Studio, but they just look like little postage stamps, but they're actually stickers. And then this flashcard was in the kit that I got, the gathered kit. And I want to make this into a journaling card. So I'm adding some coffee dyed paper to the back of it. This is some coffee dyed paper I had in my stash. It just kind of got tore a little bit when I was drying it. And so I saved those for things like this project. And then I do want to add a little bit of interest to that. So I have these rub-ons from 49 & Market, and they have some of the most beautiful rub-ons. I love them. And so I'm just cutting out the section that I want to use over the top of this little flashcard here. And then you just kind of rub it down. It's easier if you cut out the section that you want to use, and then just burnishing this down with I'm using a bone folder. It actually comes with like a popsicle stick, but it got lost somewhere on my desk. So I'm just using that bone folder, and it'll be just fine. And then just pulling out a few other pieces that I want to add in some different places on this flashcard, just to add some color and some interest to the front of this. And then the back side has all of that coffee dyed paper, so it just makes a good larger size journaling card to use on here. And then adding another little section down here at the bottom, kind of keeping in some of these neutrals and blues and greens for this kit. I'm not adding a ton of color in here. I'm trying to keep it mostly neutral, but I did want to add just a little bit. So this is another piece that was in the subscription kit, the gathered kit. I did need to trim this down just a tad so that it would fit in one of my pockets. It was just a little bit longer, and I didn't want to lose that image. So I just kind of trimmed down both ends, and then I'm going to make a tag out of this, and I'm just kind of using a tag that I had in my stash just for the edges up there at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and distress everything, and then I'm using those same pieces from that upholstery thing that fell apart, and I'm just stapling those as a little like pull thing at the top. And I just added multiple pieces, so there's like some brown and then kind of that ice blue color up there as well. And I just tucked those at the top and then stapled them down with my tiny attacher, and then found a pocket. And I didn't want to put it there because I had a tag on the other side, so I'm going to kind of move things around here in my journal. And then I put that in that clear vellum pocket. And then I had this piece as well, and I really like the typography of this one, so I'm going to create a belly band with this. I'm just kind of getting an eye for where this is going to fit, and I'm going to trim it down. It was just a little bit too wide, and I kind of needed to square it up just a little bit. So I'm using my trimmer here, and this paper almost feels like rag paper. It's got that like really cottony kind of texture to it. I'm not sure that that's what it is, but it kind of has that feel, if that makes sense. So I'm just trimming it down, trying to kind of straighten everything up, and then I'm just gluing this to the top and the bottom. I'm starting at the bottom, and then I will trim off the excess. And at the top, this page is torn. You can kind of see there. So I'm just going along and just kind of tearing the top as well to kind of make it match the top of that page. I just wanted to keep that look up there at the top instead of trying to cut it square. And then I have this beautiful photograph that was in my kit as well that I'm going to turn into a journaling card. So I do need to trim this down just a little bit so that it's going to fit inside this belly band, but I just thought the grays of this would look neat behind that belly band. And like I said, I put that there just because I really liked the font of those numbers. So I went ahead and trimmed that out, and then I'm using one of the pattern papers that was in the kit that has, it's a really lightly speckled kind of paper, but I think it will work perfect for a journaling card, but it has enough just kind of that ice blue kind of color on there, so it's going to match with the journal, obviously, because everything is coordinated with the gathered kit so that everything works together. I did round the corners on this. I just felt like that made it look a little bit more finished, if that makes sense. And then I distressed the edges, and I'm going to tuck that into my little belly band there. So now I'm flipping through some of the other papers that I have. I really did try to keep mostly to the things that were in the kit this month. So I'm pulling out another one of the papers. This is almost like a scrapbooking paper. It's kind of heavyweight cardstock. And I'm just going to create a little rounded pocket here on one of the pages. And I just tore that. And then I'm using my archival ink in ground espresso again to distress it. And then gluing the one side of the paper and then the other side of the paper that's in the journal, like the book text, just because I knew I needed to trim this pocket down a little bit, but I wasn't sure where it was going to fall. So that was just the easiest way to do that without kind of measuring. And then I trimmed off the excess with my scissors. And then I want to add just a little bit of interest to this pocket area. So I am pulling out some of the music paper. I'm distressing that just a little bit, kind of tearing the shape to make it kind of the way that I want it. And then I'm going to glue this and create just a little cluster kind of down here in this bottom right hand corner on this pocket. Again, just for some interest. I'm trying to not overly decorate the journal. I will plan probably sell it, so I want to make sure that there's enough there that is interesting, but people can still add what they want on there as well. So I had these strips of basically map paper, which I think was really cool. I loved these actually. And so I'm backing those with some of that same paper from earlier, the speckled kind of back, because I think it'll make a really interesting background for this. I just make a tag shape, and it will work for a journaling card. But I did want to decorate just a little bit of the front. So I'm using a little leftover piece of, I think this was a check from that paper collection. And then, it was like a canceled check. And then I have one of the bookbinding scraps that was in the kit. And I'm just making a cluster here on the right side at the front of this tag that's going to go in this pocket here. So I'm just gluing everything together, and I'm using art glitter glue for most of what I'm doing today, mostly because my Bearly Arts glue, I bought a big bottle of this and I'm trying to use all of it up instead of the Bearly Arts glue. And then I added this postage stamp. This was also in the gathered kit this month. So just tucking that in there. And I didn't add anything to the top of that. I wanted to just kind of keep that map, and I didn't want to just take away from it. So throughout this book, I used several pages that have these kind of floral images on the front of them, kind of botanical images, and I wanted to just give them a little bit of color. I didn't really know why I wanted to do this, but it just at the time seemed like a good idea. So I'm taking a Neocolor 2 crayon, which is a water-soluble pigment, and a watercolor brush here. I'm just picking up just a little bit of that color and kind of dotting it into these botanical images in the journal. So just to give them a little bit of color, because they're already beautiful, these images, so I don't really need to add anything to it, but I just think having that on there just helps it stand out a little bit. And I'm not like fully coloring them or anything, just adding just a little bit of color. And then I had this one page that kind of had a bottom margin that was really blank. And so I added another one of these rub-ons from 49 and Market. You can see me just kind of peeling it off here. And that just added a little bit of interest to that open space. So you can kind of see everything that I've done so far. I'm just going to do a flip through. I think I'm going to leave it at here. I've got a couple things just tucked in for journaling spots and made some tags and tried to use all of the pieces. I will link down below the setup video for this journal, the part 1 section of this, if you're interested in watching that. So, and again, I'll also put my affiliate link for House of Books down below. This was the September subscription kit, but you can, sign up for October if you're interested in that. I did realize I skipped a page here, so I'm going to add a little bit of green to this one as I'm going along. Anyway, I will put my subscription. You can sign up for a monthly subscription or a quarterly subscription. You can also choose between the neutral set, which is the one I got, or a colored version. So it just depends on what they have available and what you're interested in. But there are some ways that you can kind of customize that and how often you're getting it and that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is just the little final flip through of all of these things. You can kind of see the pockets and everything. There's still a lot of space in here to add more pockets and more journaling spots and everything. But I didn't want to add too much to make it kind of too bulky right out of the gate. So that's it. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.